Welcome to the Fed Life Podcast with Dan Sipe from Serving Those Who Serve. In this podcast, Dan draws from years of financial experience to help federal employees overcome challenges that every Fed can relate to. Join us for this journey as we reach, teach, and serve to help you make the right financial decisions. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Fed Life Podcast. I am your host, Dan Sipe. Additionally, I am the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve and Lee Sipe & Associates. As I always like to begin, thank you for your time. Thank you for taking time to listen. And above all, thank you for your service, because you do not hear that enough. Our guest today wants to help you make the most of your work life as part of your Fed life. So if you're looking for a podcast to get your career juices flowing, this might be it. As is our practice, this will be a two-part episode so that you can listen to it on your commute or on the metro or mowing the lawn or wherever. Bob Oberleitner is here with us. Bob is a career Fed and an executive coach. In the first part, we'll learn more about executive coaching, and we also get to know Bob. Bob is the co-founder of RJO Coaching, and we will get to his work with RJO. But first, I'd like to share a little bit about Bob's background. He's enjoyed a 37-year career in federal service with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, beginning as an examiner in 1982 and rising through the ranks to the senior executive service position of Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Patent Operations, which he's held for the last 11 years. Bob has some great alma maters to his resume: Penn State University, the Maxwell School at Syracuse University, and right here in our backyard, Georgetown University. So I'd like to open with Bob's own words, where he will help us today learn how we can become the leader we were meant to be. Bob, welcome to Fed Life.
Thank you very much, Dan.
And I would be remiss if I did not thank you for your service as well.
Thank you.
In the interest of full disclosure, I've been blessed to know Bob and his family for a few years now.
It's been great working with you.
Well, thank you. Bob, let's dig in. Your career kind of looks like a blueprint for aspiring Feds to follow. Would you care to share a little bit about what brought you to federal service?
Sure. Back in the early 80s, the U.S. Patent Office was hiring, and they came to Penn State to recruit for patent examiners. It sounded like an interesting way to use my engineering degree, and soon I was packing and off to the Washington, D.C. area. From there, I enjoyed the work that I was doing, as well as the interaction with my coworkers and the patent attorneys. So I stayed with the agency. Eventually, opportunities came along to move into management positions and ultimately selection into the senior executive service.
Okay, well, I know you say that matter-of-factly, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen for every single person. So obviously, you're doing something right. Okay, so you've walked the walk in your own career. Again, it's kind of like a blueprint. What drew you to coaching or mentoring others?
So as I got to about the 30-year service mark, I started to think, what was next for me? What was something that I could do for the next few decades or so to still work with people and make a difference? Working with others to help them overcome obstacles and see them grow and succeed is very gratifying to me. Seeing that look in people's eye when they discover a way forward on something that they've been wrestling with, it's a great feeling that's hard to beat.
I couldn't agree with you more. We shared off air that I've got 31 years plus in working with Feds. And now here we've got folks all the way down to age 30 that are interested in learning it. And I really do feel a little bit younger when that light goes on. Now, you have training and credentials for this work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It started with the leadership training and the on-the-job experiences in my government positions. Years in the senior executive service have provided me with experience and exposure to all levels of management, including the C-suite. I studied leadership coaching at Georgetown University, which provided a great education on the ins and outs of coaching, along with hands-on practice with coaching principles. Also, I'm certified coach with the International Coach Federation, the ICF.
Okay, well, I guess let's dive into the basics. What is executive coaching, and why would that be beneficial?
So the ICF defines coaching as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires the client to maximize their professional and personal potential. Another coaching certification organization, the International Association of Coaching, defines coaching as a transformative process for personal and professional awareness, discovery, growth, and expansion of possibilities. I think both nicely capture the partnering relationship of coaching and how it can transform people. I think coaching is beneficial because it can help individuals by boosting awareness and self-confidence, thereby improving their work performance, communication skills, and their personal achievement. And all those changes then kind of translate to a larger scale of helping their teams and companies by improving workforce effectiveness, morale, retention, and achievement of organizational goals ultimately.
Wow. That's a bunch. So walk us through the process. So let's say I'm in federal service. I've been in for a little bit. I like it. And I'm grabbed by the mission. I want this to be my career. When should I start considering coaching, or is there a specific time?
Yeah, so coaching can be useful at any point in your career, though you often hear people seeking coaching when they're ready to take a role in management or they're already an executive.
So is it pretty much nuts and bolts career stuff, or does it take in the whole person?
Coaching is really whole person based. How we react to situations has many components, including our thinking, how we feel inside, how that drives our actions, and how our reactions to circumstances lead to the results that we see. When we recognize more about ourselves and how we appear to others, and as well as how we approach our problems, the solutions to those problems become much clearer.
Oh, come on, Bob. You mean I got to worry about how I'm being out there and not how people react to me?
That's right.
Now, it sounds like the relationship gets pretty close. I'd imagine that a person's experiences, joys, and struggles are part and parcel and relevant to the person they kind of want to be. So how would coaching differ from, say, counseling?
So coaching helps you solve challenges and move forward professionally and in life. The main focus is what is happening today, and through the use of focused questions to help you come to the conclusions and the next steps that are best for you. It's similar to counseling with respect to the fact that you learn about yourself. There's a confidential relationship between you and your coach in the coaching session. Counseling, while there are those similar components like confidentiality and the code of ethics, what is different is the counselor is trained in and often focuses on family dynamics, health conditions, and it can also be more focused on the past than coaching is.
Okay. So it sounds like there's a pretty deep dive. How long might a relationship with a coach typically last?
So the length of a coaching relationship depends on a number of factors, but anywhere between 3 to 12 months is typical. Many coaching relationships are roughly about 6 months. And when managers find a coach that they click with, they're comfortable using that coaching relationship to address their personal challenges and professional challenges, they may actually opt to stick with the same coach for multiple years.
Sure. Now, I know in my own life, I've really been the beneficiary of wonderful mentors. If there's no them, there's no me. How do you see coaching as different from mentoring?
So, Dan, mentors are fantastic. They tend to be subject matter experts. They're the been there, done that people. Often they give advice as to what's worked for them. And while it can be helpful for a coach to come from the client's same field, the core of coaching is really not about advice giving.
Okay. Can you expand upon that?
So having a mentor in your corner to provide sage advice is invaluable. And the mentor relationship does provide a sounding board similar to coaching. And while there are some overlaps like those, where coaching differs is that the coach constantly strives to ensure that the path that the client takes and the decisions that are made are your own versus what worked for the coach. Some people, when they select a coach, may like to have a coach, as I had said earlier, from their same work experience. For example, a lawyer may want a coach that has spent some time being a lawyer. A school principal may want somebody that's familiar with the educational field. Or a current executive may want a coach whose previous career has been an executive since they understand the lexicon and the stresses and the demands of that position.
Okay. I guess one question that jumps out to me is this, because from my own career, this is something that I see in the in the federal folks that I serve. Would you also coach feds that want to transition from the private sector to the private sector after their federal career is complete? Because I've always said that there's a big element of federal service that's back end loaded in this town because there are people kind of chomping at the bit to meet you. So would that be something that you might cover as well?
Sure, that's a professional and a personal decision that a coach can certainly help with. Also, there are some coaches that specialize in career transitions as their niche.
Okay. And what would that typically entail?
So if that was your topic and I was your coach, I would explore what's important to you by asking questions like, what are you passionate about? What do you feel your strengths are? What do you like and not like about your current position? And what are your must-haves for any new career choice, for example?
Okay. Now, folks, obviously, some of you are just meeting Bob here for the first time. He has also authored kind of a neat article that's on his LinkedIn site, and I'm kind of a junkie for these types of things. So I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to put on the spot here and ask some questions about it. Can you talk a little bit about it was on the topic of awareness? And I know for me, even prior to reading that article, it was, hey, I'm awake, I must be aware. But first, would you share why you think awareness matters?
Sure. All of us, leaders in particular, are more effective and successful when we're aware of ourselves, what our triggers are, how are we coming across to our coworkers, for example. Are we the proverbial bull in the china shop, focused on completing tasks and not recognizing the wake that we leave behind?
Bull in the china shop. Were you present for my early career? That sounds. Why don't you expand on the bull in the china shop part?
Sure. The bull in the china shop leaders are those who, for example, call a team meeting to get input, and before anyone has a chance to provide any input, the executive proceeds to lay out in detail how it's going to be and then concludes the meeting. Another could be a leader who's stressed, maybe tired, walks into a meeting with his or her team, and starts making off-the-cuff critical and absolute statements about the team's performance. Or maybe a leader who's arrogant and doesn't take the time to establish a relationship with the team and see the team as individuals. Those are all examples of a leader that leaves a mess in their wake.
Gotcha. I'm proud to say I didn't hit all three. So you gave 7 tips to improve awareness. I'm a big list guy. I love lists. So let's walk through those. The first was to meditate or pause. At first blush, they seem to be different activities. Are they?
It's actually the same thing. Some people think the term meditation's too far out there for them, so sometimes we use the word pause or the term pause. Basically, the idea is to set aside a few minutes to clear your mind a bit. From a calmer, non-reactionary state, we notice what's going on both inside, outside, and around us, and we're then able to respond more effectively.
Okay, and next you advised slow down and focus. What's the goal there?
The goal is to recognize the impacts of our tendency to race through activities and interactions just to check them off our list. Also, recognizing that multitasking is ultimately not effective. Neuroscience has shown that people cannot effectively focus on more than one thing at a time. The mind is actually quickly shifting its attention from one thing to another. And depending on the task, that can lead to making mistakes and ultimately being less effective. So focus on the activity that you're currently engaged in.
I was chuckling through that because I have to tell a story on myself here. Bob is a write-it-out person, as am I, so we're exchanging our text with each other beforehand. And honest to goodness, I really read his article, but it was a day when I was humming on my to-do list. I was nailing it, just producing all kinds of work, super happy with myself. And so when I sent in my list of questions, I completely skipped question number 3, which we're about to get to, which is funny to me because I had just finished reading Slow Down and Focus and forgot to put in a question about intentional listening. So I went back and reread it. And if I had had a chalkboard, I would have made myself write it all out for 10 times. So intentional listening. What did you mean by that for everybody other than Dan?
So, Dan, have you ever been in a heated discussion about a topic where you were holding on to your position for dear life?
No.
And while the other person is talking, instead of listening, you're planning your rebuttal, waiting for them to take a breath long enough just for you to jump in and more convincingly present your case.
Uh-oh.
At that moment, it's likely that the other person's message and their motivations are being missed.
Very true.
We have to work at intentionally listening in order to really hear what the other person in the conversation is saying and have a chance to understand them. Take in all of the communication, both verbal and nonverbal. There's a book that's entitled Blind Spot, where the authors note that you can't consistently win over others solely with fact-filled presentations.
Mm-hmm.
It takes connecting with them with meaningful dialogue by engaging and acknowledging emotions in order to convince people. So to effectively communicate, we really need to hear what others are trying to tell us.
Wow. And actually I had my mouth shut, so I was listening carefully. And it's really interesting because these 3 points sort of bridge together for something for me in a book that I read recently. It's called Deep Work. It's by Cal Newport. He's local too. He's at Georgetown. And he talks about concentration residue. So what you said about the multitasking, I'm really good. I have all these things going. I'm really not complete in any one of them. And so I probably haven't done my best work within those. And oh boy, my team's going to listen to this, Bob. Okay. So let's just move on from this one about listening. I'm going to have to get so much better at that. Number 4 is something I know not many people actually do. And I always watch the people who do, and they all seem to have so much, they seem to be so much more together than I see myself. You're saying keep a journal or log. Walk us through how that helps. And you may just pitch me on it while you're doing it.
Sure. The journal will provide a reference to help us sort out issues and note progress. Mm-hmm. It can also help with the recognition of patterns from behavior to reactions in our body, which we might otherwise go unnoticed.
Can you expand on that? And also, I have a question I kind of want to drop in here. Is there a better way to do it? Because we're digital now, is pen to paper an advantage? Because, here's probably the reason I have not jumped on it is I go, another task. I've got to write a report on what I thought and how I felt. So can you just expand a bit?
Yeah. So the journal, again, we all have so much going on. It's just difficult to keep everything. While we think it's top of mind today, by the time we get to the end of the week, there's so much more that's happened that unless we write it down somewhere, often we just don't have the ability to keep retaining it and bringing it back when we need it. As far as paper and computer, it's a great question, and there's been a number of articles written on that topic. And really, my take is what the articles seem to confirm is that it's really individual and whatever works best for you. For me, writing out longhand on paper helps me get my thoughts out, and they seem to stick better with me. But for those who favor typing on a computer or a phone, there's definite clear advantages about ease of storage and ability to access your writing easily from wherever you are.
That makes sense. Number 5 is be open to feedback. Now, doesn't that kind of happen automatically today? I mean, we are the society that hasn't had a thought we didn't share, right?
True. Social media provides many opportunities to provide feedback, of which some are more helpful than others. But the focus in the professional setting is that it's often difficult for employees and peers to give the boss honest feedback. So when others do give you feedback as a leader, either via a 360 assessment or when you straight out ask for it on a specific topic, be open to what you hear. Resist the temptation to explain or get defensive. Just take the feedback in as a data point and add it to your overall awareness.
Your 6th point surprised me. Make time for self-care. I mean, as leaders, aren't we supposed to be stand-up and go types?
Leaders do tend to be work warriors who sacrifice themselves for work. The problem is that over time, that takes a toll. Whether that's in the quality of work, relationships, or our own health, there are costs that ultimately result in decreasing the effectiveness of the leader and thus the entire team. Anyone is more effective and more enjoyable to be around when they're clear-minded, on their game, versus being tired and on edge.
Boy, my crew's going to listen to this. It helped me here, Bob. No, actually helped me a lot. And last, get a coach. Now, it's interesting. This point really wasn't pitching the idea as much as revealing the value. Why don't you expand on that?
So coaching is becoming more commonly used in both government and private industry. The quote I referenced in the article is from the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, who said, "Everyone needs a coach. One thing people are never good at is seeing themselves as others see them."
That is so true. I've been blessed to be coaching youth sports since I was 17 years old. And you hang around long enough, you start to finally get good at something. And one of the things that I say so much to young athletes and to my team here, I really wish you could see yourselves as I see you, because I can see where you might be able to go. So that's an interesting point. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. It really captures your anecdote there, and the quote really captured pretty well the thought of how coaching can expand a leader's awareness by providing that feedback and that mirror that we can see ourselves better with. So it results in the leader being more effective in their current job, and as well as opening doors of opportunity that the leader may not have realized before. So as leaders, sometimes too, can feel the weight of their responsibilities. And the coach serving as a sounding board helps the leader with their exploration of most any professional topic.
Wow. Yep. Okay, Bob, that's enough softball questions now. It's the hard stuff. Okay, we're getting away from theory here. Time to tell folks about Bob the person. Let's start with family.
So I live in Virginia with my beautiful wife, Linda. We have 2 adult sons who are out on their own. And we have 2 Westies at home that make me laugh every day.
Westies are great dogs. So when you're not guiding the PTO or coaching the next gen of leaders, what do you do for fun?
I like to follow my sports teams, read, exercise by lifting weights, and riding a bike.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
So right now I'm reading a couple of books. I'm reading
I think you mentioned Next Level.
Yes, The Next Level by Scott Eblin. He had updated and re-released his earlier book by the same name. It was a compilation of conversations that he's had with executives, supplemented with his insights and tips. Also, I just started the book Narrative Coaching by David Drake, which is about the author's process of coaching around stories that all clients bring into coaching relationships. For fun, anytime I can get my hands on something from David Baldacci, I love to read those.
Sure. Okay. Up next is what I like to call lightning round. It's a bunch of quick questions that by the end we'll know a bit more about you. So I'm going to shoot them fast, shoot them back to me fast, and we might loop back on some of them. So, favorite food?
Steak.
Preferred ordered or cook it?
Order.
Favorite place to visit?
Beach.
Sports or arts?
Sports.
Okay. Favorite athlete?
Javi Baez of the Cubs.
El Mago. Nice. Preferred pet?
Dogs.
Okay. Preferred method of exercise?
Lifting weights.
My fave. Preferred to tell a joke or hear a joke?
Here.
Who's your hero?
Honestly, Dan, it's the country's federal workforce. Being a Fed today is just not for the weak-hearted.
That's a great answer. And favorite person in history?
Lincoln.
Was this fun?
Absolutely.
See, I always catch them on that. I get everybody, whether they mean it or not, they always tell me. There's still, I got to loop back here because there's one thing I know from our conversation that you didn't toss in here was I wasn't super clear about the hero part, and you offered up your favorite superhero. So would you care to share that?
Sure. I like Batman. And for the movies, the Christian Bale version of Batman.
I'm Batman. So now I got to ask because I see some juxtaposition here between the Dark Knight and the Guiding Light. So tell me a little bit about Lincoln and also why you like Christian Bale's Batman.
Sure. So Lincoln, from many historical accounts, we know him to be very thoughtful. He nobly served his country during a very tense time in our nation's history, and he really epitomized the successful executive by his building of coalitions with both rivals and like-minded people, and that enabled him to be able to take action and get work done during his presidency.
And Christian Bale was the Batman we deserved.
Yes, exactly. He just nailed that part.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. 10 things you did not know about Bob Oberleitner from RJR Coaching. Bob, thank you for sharing today. How can our folks find you if they want to know more?
They can find me on LinkedIn and also on my website, rjocoaching.com.
Okay. So be sure to listen to part 2 of my conversation with Bob, where we'll dig deeper into coaching and how it can boost your career as a Fed. I have to say the topics on our podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be taken as advice. The opinions of our guests, including Bob, even though they are awesome, are their own and not necessarily those of Serving Those Who Serve, FedLife, or Raymond James. We are Serving Those Who Serve. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your YouTube channel. Remember to share it with your friends and strangers. Don't forget to check us out on LinkedIn and Twitter. And remember, we have seminars every month around the DMV featuring Ed Zerndorfer. You can find that at stwserve.com, seminars and events. So for Bob Oberleitner, the crew at Serving Those Who Serve, me, Dan Sipe, good luck, Godspeed, and above all, remember, it's your Fed life. Make it a great one, because you deserve it. We are out.
Thank you for listening to the Fed Life Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Serving Those Who Serve or Raymond James. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
Neither Raymond James Financial Services nor any Raymond James financial advisor renders advice on tax issues. These matters should be discussed with the appropriate professional. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected, including diversification and asset allocation. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of the quoted professionals or their respective organizations.